going to learn something really important regarding adjectival clause. As you probably know, in the very first lesson, I already stressed the importance of using clauses in a sentence. If you want your writing to be natural, you can avoid the choppy mistakes. Like when you write a series of simple sentences, your writing will be very choppy because you cannot show how all the ideas or events or actions are closely related to each other. So that's why you have to make the most use of different kinds of clauses in English. And in today's lesson, we're going to start with adjectival clause. Okay? Very commonly used type of clause in English if you want to describe something or somebody in detail. Alright. As you probably know, we already studied or learned adjectives. Adjectives are words or phrases that are used to describe or modify nouns, modify people or things in general. Okay? And the same is with adjectival clause. Alright? And you already knew what a clause is, right? A clause is an independent sentence. If it is an independent clause, and we also have dependent clause. So adjectival clause is a dependent clause. Alright? Yeah. And this type of clause functions as a noun. As an adjective. That means you can use this clause to describe or to modify noun or pronoun in a sentence. Okay? And we have two kinds of clauses. Alright, the first one is defining clause, and the other one is non-defining clause. Defining clause is used when you want to give essential information. That means the information in this sentence, okay, should not be omitted or skipped because this is definitely important. Without it, we cannot understand the sentence fully. Okay, so let's see. My sentence is, thus the woman who was attacked and robbed yesterday. Alright? So where is my adjectival clause? Of course, here it is. Right. So this is my essential information. If I didn't write this one, okay, people wouldn't understand what it means. That's the woman. Do you understand what I mean by that's the woman? Of course not. So that's why you have to add a defining clause that gives essential information about this woman. Alright? So I have this one. Who was attacked and robbed yesterday. Alright? So this clause will modify or describe the noun right before it. You see, women is put right before this clause. In other words, this clause and then defining clause is used to modify or describe the noun woman. Okay? Whereas we have non-defining clause with a different mission. Alright, so non-defining clause is used if you want to give extra information or additional information. So that means you can omit, okay, or leave out this clause, okay, without, worrying about the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so if you skip this one or omit this one, then it won't affect the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so let's see my example here. Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh, which I visited several times, is my favorite city. Where is my adjectival clause? Here it is. Right, which I visited several times. What if I leave out this clause? Of course, it doesn't affect my sentence at all. People still understand what I mean by saying Ho Chi Minh. Alright, so Ho Chi Minh is my favorite city. Everybody understands that. So you can leave out this clause without, affecting the meaning of the sentence. Okay, and you see the difference between these two sentences? Of course, the comma. Alright, so for non-defining clause, we have to use comma before and after the clause here to separate, okay, the non-defining clause. However, for defining clause, of course, we can't put a comma before that. Okay? Good job. And remember, we can use that. We can use that to substitute or replace relative who, relative pronoun who here. But for non-defining clause, we can't use that to replace the relative pronoun. So that's the big difference or main difference between defining and non-defining clause. Okay? Alright, so for the last two examples I just mentioned, I used the two common relative pronouns, who and which. Alright, so apart from who and which, we also have other options. Alright, we have whom, the object form of who. Okay, which I already mentioned in the examples. When, where, why, whose, what, whereby. Alright, so pay attention to whereby. This one may sound strange to some of you guys, right? So whereby is used after some certain words such as method, situation, case, arrangement, or regulation. Alright, so let's do a small quiz to see how I use relative pronouns in adjectival clause. Okay, so let's see how we use adjectival clause, okay, in writing. And here I give you 7 sentences in which I leave one gap for you to fill in the appropriate relative pronoun, okay, in each sentence. So let's start with the first sentence. Is that the man you were telling about? So, what relative pronoun should be used here? Alright, so I show you what. Here, we have the noun, okay, the man. So this is the noun of the sentence, right? Okay. And the second one we have, you were telling about. About who? Okay, of course, you were telling about the man. So the man here, okay, is the object of the second sentence. Alright, so we're going to use, of course, whom. Alright, so whom is a relative pronoun that is used to replace the object of the sentence. Right? So my sentence will be, is that the man whom you were telling about? So this one is quite formal in writing, but in spoken English, you may hear some people say who. We also use who, alright, that functions as the object of the sentence, but this is considered informal. So you'd better use it in spoken conversations. Okay, that's great. The second, we were staying at the hotel. What is the noun here? Of course, the hotel. The hotel. Okay, you recommended to us. What did you recommend to us? Of course, the hotel. So the hotel here functions as the object of the second sentence. So that's why we gotta use which. Right? So which here functions as the object of the second sentence. And its job is to modify the noun, the hotel. So my sentence will be, we were staying at the hotel which you recommended to us. And by the way, I just want you guys to keep in mind a very important point when you use relative clause. So for relative pronouns that function as the object of the sentence, you can leave them out. That means you can skip it and people still understand and you still grammatically correct when you write sentences. So in this case, you just simply cross them out. Alright, so you have the right to leave them out without affecting the meaning of the sentence. You're still grammatically correct, as I mentioned earlier. Alright, and the third one, the guy and car. You see car here is a noun. Pay attention to that. The guy, car, you just hit is a traffic warden. Alright, so you may definitely think of possession here. So that means the car belongs to the guy. So if the car belongs to the guy, you gotta use relative pronoun, whose. Excellent. Alright, so you use whose. Right, to show belonging or possession. In this case, my sentence will be, the guy whose car you just hit is a traffic warden. Excellent. Number 4, back in the 1970s, so this one refers to the timeline. Okay, this one answers the question, when. Alright. I was a teenager. Okay, so when I was a teenager. So when here is used to modify back in the 1970s. When I was a teenager, no one I knew had a computer. So no one, I knew who? I knew, okay, so no one whom I knew had a computer. So in this case, you can cross it out because who functions as the object of the second sentence. That's great. And number 5, this lack of preparation was the main reason the project was a failure. Everybody gets familiar with this because you normally hear people use this. The main reason why. If you want to introduce the reason. Okay? Right, so remember the main reason why. It's a fixed phrase. And number 6, I prefer to live in a neighborhood. So neighborhood is an area where people live in. Okay, where people live. Alright, so I prefer to live in a neighborhood. This is a place, so we're going to use relative pronoun, where. Alright, so neighborhood where I have some peace and quiet. So here, you come across a commonly used idiom, have some peace and quiet. If a place is tranquil or peaceful, it would definitely give you some peace and quiet where you can relax or chill out. Okay. And the very last one, we have the company operates an arrangement. As I mentioned earlier, we use whereby, alright, to modify some certain words. You can go back to the lesson in the introductory part. You can see. Alright, so an arrangement. Arrangement here means like a plan or a policy, okay? Whereby, and after that, we're going to write a clause, a complete clause. Whereby, or by which. So instead of saying whereby, you can say by which. That whereby is much better. Whereby employees can choose their own working hours. Okay. So whereby here is the relative pronoun that modifies an arrangement to show listeners that what kind of arrangement it is. Alright, that's great. Thank you. Okay, so the final point you should bear in mind is reduced relative clauses if you want to shorten your sentences a little bit. Okay? Yeah, so you're going to use reduced form of relative clauses. So let's see these 2 examples to see how I will reduce these 2 clauses. Number 1, most of the people who were waiting for tickets went away disappointed. So what kind of clause is it? Defining or non-defining? Of course, defining clause, because I cannot omit or leave out the clause. If I leave it out, people would not understand what I mean. Alright? So, most of the people who were waiting for tickets went away disappointed. This is my adjectival clause. So this is the full form of relative clause. How about reduced one? Yeah. We just simply cross the relative pronoun who and then to be. Alright? We just simply say, most of the people waiting for tickets went away disappointed. So this sentence is definitely shorter than the previous one. Okay? So this is active form. Right? You just simply cross the pronoun who and then to be. Alright? That's great. And the second one, fruit that is grown organically is expensive. Okay? That is grown organically is my adjectival clause. Okay. So here I can cross it out. Cross this one out and this one too. That is. Okay. The same like this. But the only difference is this is an active voice and this is a passive voice. So you just simply keep past participle in passive voice. And my sentence would be, fruit grown organically is expensive. Okay, another shorter sentence. Okay, so I hope this lesson will offer you some insight into adjectival clause. If you want to use it to modify noun or pronoun in a sentence. And of course, it will help you, reduce relative clause a bit to make your sentences shorter and concise. Thank you so much. See you in the next lesson with another title clause.